What's your story? I wonder. I am coming to you live from my bedroom where a lot of magic happens behind on the board of life. And I want to invite you to join in the conversation. It's time for us to understand that we can only be as great as the ones that we surround ourselves with. And that is why I want you to know how important your story is, while I invite a few others who also need to hear how significant they are. Please share this with someone who needs that reminder, who maybe takes life a little too seriously, and personally too. The ones who think that they are the center of more than they are. It's time for us to know we don't have to be anything other than what we have come here to be, and that is enough. It's true, my friend. I'm holding a Kambaba jasper crystal that is shaped like a dragon skull, because the energies of the dragons are here with us, and dragons are creative babies so far as what I'm concerned, and what I had written into this book years ago. So the interesting thing is that I often reference the book that rewrote me, because it ultimately took 3.5 years to get to the place now where the information will share in it is ultimately mirrored back through the experiences that I've went through, and you too. So I want you to know that if you're like I was before I understood why my journey took so many off ramps to get back to this moment where I'd never been before, specifically from this elevation of perspective, which is the thing that we really need to start connecting with. We really need to start understanding that we all start out at home, and we often wind up back at home with all of the scars and the lessons that came from that journey inward. And so the message that I want to share with you is that if you feel like things are taking too long, if you feel like what you have to offer this world is not yet known to you, trust yourself more, because it's already being revealed. And the truth is, the world needs you to remember. It's what you came here to do. All of us drank from the river of forgetfulness before we incarnated here. And then when we got here, we forgot why we came and what we came here with, because everything was given ahead of time. We have everything already within that we need. We would not have a desire within us either if we could not heed its message, if we could not deliver what was bursting from us to share, then we would not have it within us to burst forth. And so we have to understand that even though sometimes we think, I'm just this, and we make this so much more than we are, when the truth is that every role, title, responsibility, all of those that are assigned in this world that we share, ultimately, they're just boxes, belief systems, BS that we have agreed with and given energy to. And when we give energy to a box and put our energy into that box becomes supercharged. It becomes like a battery, of which we are. You have to understand that you are an energetic being having a physical experience, and we are taught that we are less than we are in order to maintain the offering of power that we give the ones that we have deemed superior on a pedestal because of their title, role, responsibility, whatever it was in this world, even just their financial bank account. So we've heard, because no one truly knows unless you're the banker, and they are sworn to secrecy, because so much of what is taught in this world is left in the shadows until you reach a height at which you then vow secrecy and then gain access to the information after the gateway into the occult. And what we have to understand is that the occult wisdom that we, as mystics without monasteries, who are in fact in a monastery, of which is our own body, but just not the one that we thought we needed to go to worship in a temple in, we then take the externalized expression of what is inside. And if we can then experience that instead, wow, right? Well, these are the things that you remember as you stop giving your power unnecessarily to boxes of BS that need your power for them to have power. And what I encourage all of us now to do and suggest is our personal responsibility too, is to take personal responsibility for ourselves and what we are giving our power to. Please be discerning. Ask yourself how things feel, because if they feel fearful or make you angry, yes, it could reflect an injustice, of which there are many that are taking place in this world. But the other thing is that the 3D grid that we have an opportunity to leave behind now, that 3D grid is powered and charged by fear and anger. Excellent to see you on, Peter. Glad that you feel free. That's excellent. And so that's the thing. Feeling how we are in this moment is huge. And we really need to be aware of how we're feeling. And if it is fear, it is false evidence appearing real in a moment that is probably not even just this one, but based on past ones that then came forward into this present as remembrances of don't do that again because you almost lost your life or lost a friend or somehow jeopardized life as you knew it then. And so many of us seem to be afraid of our own power. And that is when then I say to you, your story matters. Your story matters in this overall collective history that we are writing together, co-creators, in a narrative like has never been told before and can only be told through our lives. By taking personal responsibility for how we are showing up in this moment and where we are giving our power to, and when someone else is calling for our attention and we choose to stay focused on the path that we have chosen, because that is where the power that we have lies. And so when we know that others are always asking for our time, energy, effort, attention, and money, that then is when we can be more responsible with how we deploy our team players, would you say? Please understand that when you remember who you truly are, when you remember that you are here on assignment, that yes, you did drink from the river of forgetfulness, but you also came here to remember, which was the point. We are all trying to make life so much more complicated than it needs to be, forgetting that the truth is we came here to get back to basics. Anytime there is a business in trouble that's been around for a while, oftentimes a consultant will come in and say, what did you do in the early days? What did you do before you thought that you could lay off a bit or, ease off? What did you do then? And how can you get back to that? And what I know is that all of us that have reached any level of success ultimately valued people over profits. But in this culture, profits are valued over people. And that is why I am calling also for us all to accept a level of personal responsibility that gets absconded or set aside when we are in a group. Tribal belonging then becomes more important than self-understanding and self-awareness. And I say no. I say it is time for us to understand that we have to separate from the BS that has said this is all we get, because our soul is timeless. And so, if we know that our soul, the God spark inside of us, is timeless, then we can actually understand that while it may just only seem a job that we trade our time and some of our esteem for, what we have to understand is that when we are asked to do something against our divine nature, by that responsibility and obligation that we have to fulfill because of the position that we have, when we actually do something against our divine nature, that actually collects as negative karma in our electronic belt, which is like this energy force field that circulates us and keeps us dense and grounded, but not in a good way. Because if we have too much density, then we can't ascend the way that Jesus did. And what we all have an opportunity to do is actually become the ascended masters who have mastered ourselves, and so can be present fully in what we are here to do, which is remember who and whose we truly are. If we can actually get ourselves out of that socially conditioned agreement with jeopardizing what we believe and stand for the sake of the role, and get back to personal responsibility and the fact it is our soul that is being fought for now. This is a spiritual war, a thought war that is being fought for humanity's consciousness. And we, as bearers of the light, wherever we are in this world, we need to remember where we have plugged our power into and what we have said yes to irresponsibly, because of the dysfunctional reality that irresponsibility leads to obligation, which is the dysfunctional experience of freedom. Irresponsibly spent sends us into obligation, which is a constraint already spent but not responsibly, compared to freedom and constraint, which are functional. It is irresponsibility and obligation outside of that that are dysfunctional. So we have to understand that in this universe, we are working with polarity, equal and opposites, understanding too that we have all of that in us. We are the ones that when we get grounded, when we actually come back into this present moment and remember all of the aspects of ourselves that we have lost, remember to become a member of our whole kingdom, our whole self once again. Integrity is to be in wholeness. It was the first tattoo that I ever got when I was 18. I've only had 3, so I've got them 5 years apart, each of them on my dad's birthday, because I thought that was the perfect time to do it. And each of them have had meaning because they become brands on me that will forever say, this is who I am. The canvas has been stained. And far too many of us are stained and wounded because of things that we have irresponsibly said yes to. And once we have irresponsibly said yes and spent the energetic resources of time, energy, effort, attention, and money on someone or something that didn't pan out to be what we originally thought, that then is when we often question whether we've got it or not. And what I dare to say to you is you do. No question. If you have a desire in your heart, you have the capacity to do it. Do you have the skill yet? Maybe not. But that's why dreams are made 2 sizes too big for us to grow into. If we are staying as we were before, we're staying in a comfort zone that is a rut with both ends kicked out. That is a grave. A grave is a rut with both ends kicked out. John Maxwell taught me that at one of the conferences I flew to Florida to attend, because I understood the value of getting myself in the room, not just because of what would be said, but because of who would have been met. And I thank you for giving your time to me here today, and also to all those who you contribute to by sharing your biggest takeaway from this message. I would love to know what this message means to you, what this message means for you, and what you're going to do with it. And what I hope is that you understand the power you have to take personal responsibility, that to realize you can say no, and that we must. If not us, then who? We are the ones we've been waiting for, my friends. We have the power to do what he who came before us said you too can do, all this and more. Do you know who said that? I bet you do. So many of us have just inherently, indirectly referenced and learned of the basic instructions before leaving Earth guide that the Bible is said to be. Though there are many renditions of it. And then that too is to say that there is a need to be discerning as to how information sits and fits within our own world, because all things are filtered through the hand of men and women who ultimately are the ones that ground the inspired ideas of which all things are. We have to understand even science is the best hypothesis proven until a better one is then proven in place of that which previously was given merit. Right? Nothing is as it seems, guys. There is no one way. Generally, if there is only one way, it's a trap. We don't need to trap ourselves any longer into ideas that do not serve us and that repress and suppress, compress and depress the aspects of our divine nature that say, but no, that is destroying a human being. I won't do that. What if we were willing to decide together as individuals, we would no longer be willing to actively participate in the destruction of human beings? What if we actually decided to stop being mean to ourselves first and foremost? Because if we are nice to ourselves, then we'll be more inclined to be nice to others. But if we're really horrible on the inside, then generally speaking, venom is what spews out of us too. And they often say that don't let a wound bleed on someone who didn't hurt you. We have to stop letting all of that which came before us shape how we see everything that comes after this moment now, where we get to choose how we will show up, what we will release, and where we will go, and who we will go up with, whose hand we will take, and to know that our feelings are the greatest guide that we must learn how to interpret. Our intuition is the teacher our soul hired ahead of time, and our language is breath and emotion. So, I'm going to be sharing the emotional high rise of awareness in depth on the 16th. No, I believe it's the 19th. I'm going to be sharing the Peaceful Inner Child workshop with Tim Wheatley. We're going to get together again. We did this last one Thursday, and then we'll do it again in 2 weeks. And what's so exciting is that in this next summit, which I faltered because the name of it is coming over to the Peaceful Inner Warrior branding, that ultimately is the process that it took me 3.5 years to get to the place of proudly saying, we are all peaceful warriors. Understanding passion, enthusiasm, authenticity, clarity, encouragement, finding your tribe, understanding what's important to you rather than everyone else, loving what arises and letting go of the attachment to the not now is what it means to be peaceful. And then inner is about individual needs necessitating emotional resiliency and resonance. We are radio transmitters sending out a signal being received by the grand overall designer, creator of all that is, whatever source you want to say you came from. That's what we're talking about here, that receives the information, the intention, the desire that you send forth from your heart. The energy field that emits all of the frequencies that we send out, that then gets channeled and given back to us through the form of people, places, and things, opportunities for us to experience the creation that we set forth through intention. Lots of information to ride the wave of. But not only ride the wave, feel where the wave landed. These are the things that I encourage you to do to understand how your soul speaks to you. I look forward to coming to you again on the third Thursday of this month from 4 till 6 in the second Inner Child Peace Summit. I just posted the first one. The name of the actual day may change, but ultimately it is around inner child and inner peace and coming home to ourselves in a way that allows us to grow ourselves up from the inside out. That will be on the 19th from 4 till 6. The following week on the 26th of November from 4 till 6 again, I will be co-hosting the Inner Peace Summit with Richard Gordon, who is also known as CEO Dojo. So would love to have you save those dates, and also next Friday, sooner still, I'm going to be connecting with Bishop Larry Gators again, and we will be going into part 2 of the spiritual roots of sickness and dis-ease. And so I'll look forward to sharing that interview with you again, and very much appreciate your tuning in again. If you haven't already shared this to your favorite spiritual path or group, please do that. Send it to a few other light workers and bearers who need to understand that we peacekeepers need to know where each other are, not physically necessarily, but certainly energetically. And so it is by coming together in summits like the ones that I just mentioned, you're welcome to come to and invite a few of your friends, so that not only can we be gathering in virtual groups, but also start creating hubs in the places where we are, where we can hold peace for all of the chaos and turbulence that is taking place as the old breaks down for the new to rise from where the ashes of the old were left. So I hope all of this lets you know you are divinely supported. You are divinely guided exactly where you need to be when you need to be there, and all is well in this world. It is when we give our attention to the things that we want that we get to experience more of it. And when we resist, then that which we resist persists, because we live in a universe that does not differentiate negatives. It only gives us more of what we are asking for, which even when we say, I don't want this, we're actually going to get more of this, because this is the only focus of that statement. So recognize that whatever it is that you don't want is simply showing up as contrast to help you understand what you do want. And right now, with all of the chaos, war, destruction, oh, did I say war? Yeah, I kind of think that we're actually in the third one of this world, and it is time for us to understand that our responsibility as citizens within a global war, of which we are all subject to, whether it is being fought in our country or not, we have a responsibility to do the inner work in order for us to be able to hold the grid as the chaos unfolds, and to help influence the hearts of those hurting so much they would want to hurt others, because there is no need for placing profits over people any longer. We can all profit when we realize the value of people, when we understand that we can certainly become more responsible. We can certainly become people who understand themselves more, yes, for certain. And also it takes training, which is why I have designed a special practice formula that outlines the holy being that you are, and a practice to honor all of it rather than just parts, because it is when some aspects of our life are over accentuated and others not, that we then start to ride on a misshapen wheel. The wheel of life is a common coaching tool I have often shared, and will be glad to do again in that next Inner Child Peace Summit coming to you in less than 2 weeks now. So you have access to things, and what we need is to know where you're struggling, what you're questioning, what you're not sure of, because when you actually are willing to be bold enough to put yourself out there and ask a question, please understand you represent all of those who can't. Not can't because they're victims and choose not to under the guise of not able, but that they simply don't believe in themselves enough to do it. And you hopefully do. So if you have a question, please put it forward. Someone else has that question and will be grateful that you did. And it may give them the courage to do what you did, just as I hope this gives you courage to do something that may be calling on your heart, but you have dared question, as in Marianne Williamson's poem, Our Deepest Fear. Who am I to be brilliant, talented, gorgeous, and fabulous? And then we must realize the answer is, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve this world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so others won't feel insecure around us. It is time for us all to shine, to make manifest the glory of God that is within. And when we do, we unconsciously give others permission to too. So with this, I will bid you adieu for today and say too that I have just uploaded parts 2 and 3 of the Inner Child Peace Summit Tim Wheatley and I hosted on Thursday. I am uploading a video Rennick Beatty and I did last night because there was some song and great lessons in the message where I held him on screen so you could see what was inspiring the space where I had some fun before then working on the interview with Bishop Larry Gators about the spiritual roots of sickness and disease. So I have lots to share. Those will be getting up later as well. And these first 2 got uploaded this morning. So please check them out, like them, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And please share to your social media pages so we can get this message out there in a bigger way, that we are the ones we've been waiting for, that inner peace is a choice that we are able to give ourselves the gift of first and foremost, which is actually a big, huge contribution to the whole of humanity that we are all part of. So no coincidences. Your story is important. No questions. Absolutely. Amazing. You tuned in right when I was talking about you, Rennick. Amazing. Much love, Peter, to you as well. Thank you. And you now have complete control over your energy. Well, be careful to say things like that so boldly, because what I can tell you for sure is that when we think we have control, that is exactly when we've reached the end of the role of what we actually can control. And then that is when it goes into God's hand. So never get too cocky, or you will get a little bit knocky down onto the ground. My friends, it is time for us to go off into our day. I hope you have a wonderful day, and to know that you are loved and I love you, and hope that you have a good day, my friend. I love you so much too. That's all I have to say. No, it's not, it never is, and yet that's okay. I will go anyway and say there may be more. Message me your questions and you will see what comes next. I send you great love. That is the end, YouTube. Doo-doo-loo.